right, so let's try this again. Writing and graphing inequality. Anybody remember what inequality is? Any ideas? Maybe. Sometimes I might be. Okay. I think that's the same as not equal. Okay. All right. Remember these? These are inequalities. Okay, so there's a lot of things you need to get written down here. And I really suggest that instead of just writing like this is greater than, you write all of those things, because all of those words are going to be used somewhere today. And you're going to need to know what sign goes with what keywords, okay? So first of all, inequality states that two things are equal or not equal. And then there's a sign. These are the signs that we used. You should know all of them because we talked about all four of these last year. The ones you probably know the best are greater than, less than, because you've probably been using those since you've been in like 4th grade. And then those greater than or less than or equal to, those were new, I think, last year. Well, you for sure had to write this last year. For sure. And then make sure you write all the keywords, because you're going to want to know. Because sometimes it gives you like a sentence and you have to determine what sign it is. And it's easy to look back in your notebook to figure out what that is. Your assignment? I don't know. It depends how far we get here. Greater than or less. Some of you might be confused about what signs are which yet. And some of you might say, well, I know the bigger side goes towards the bigger the number, and that's fine. But you still need to know, like off the top of your head, okay, this is the greater than and this is less than. Because you might have to actually read something. It might look like this. Okay, I pretend this goes like this. And if you didn't know what that sign was, you wouldn't even know what this is saying. So how I remember it is, if I look at this, it looks like an L. If I would turn it, it looks like an L. It's a less than sign. Okay, it's like, yeah, if you look like this, it looks like an L. This one is not an L, obviously. So greater than, yep. Yep. But you still need to know, like, okay, what does this even say? If you didn't know, let's say, well, I know the bigger side, so I guess M is greater than. Is that what you're saying? Like this one, you'd say, if I go this way, you'd say M is less than 20. So as long as you have your own way, I don't care. As long as you have your own way. Does everybody remember these right here? Remember those from last year? Like this one's greater than or equal to. This one's less than or equal to. So that's what that little line in there is, kind of like the half the equal sign, putting two of them together. There's no less than. I would say no less than, or not more than, or not less, whatever. I know you're for sure probably going to see these as at least, as at most. These two is fewer than, is more than. Those are pretty important. Just make sure you get all those. Do we need another second yet? Okay. Everybody ready? Okay, so two other vocab words you have to know today. You really need to know this one because we're going to use that one a lot today. Algebraic inequality is everything we're going to do today. All of our inequalities are going to contain a variable. And anytime you have a variable, you're using algebra, so that's why it's called an algebraic inequality. So an inequality that always has a variable, and everything today you do is most likely going to have a variable. The solution set is all the solutions possible for an inequality. You got to remember, inequalities and equations are solved the same way, but their answer means two different things. Okay, so they're solved the same way, but the answer means two different things. Yes. Not today, maybe tomorrow, the next day. So solutions at all the possible solutions of an inequality. All right. What is your question? Am I going to tell you? If you come to me, we can discuss it. I would rather do it that way than me telling you, because I think if we discuss it together, it'll help both of us figure out what you need. I'm going to lead you in the right direction. No. Pre-algebra. Yeah, talk to me sometime. Okay, you know what? We'll talk about it after we're done with the lesson. Okay, let's talk about it after we're done. Okay, so then what we're going to do is we're going to graph. Remember the first part said writing and graphing? So we're going to start with the graphing portion of this. Okay, so before we graph, there's a few things you need to know. And I don't know if I have it in here. I don't think I do. I'll have to show you. So the first thing you need to know when you graph, two things. Okay, when you have these signs, do you remember what kind of dot it is? It's not filled in. Good job. If you have these two, okay, you guys. Okay, we'll talk about that, okay? This is filled in. You need to write this in your notebook because this is important when you graph. So before you graph, you have to know these things. So these two greater than or less than have an open dot, and these two that are equal then have a closed dot. And it's easy to remember that because for these, you see how you have another sign or another little symbol? That shows me that this is closed then. Yes? What about like equal signs? We're not worried about equal sign today. We're not worried about equal sign. So, to graph something like this, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use a number line. I'm not going to use graph paper. I'm not going to use coordinate plane. I'm going to use a number line. So, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make a line. Now, there's certain numbers you need on this number line. Do you remember what number you have to have on this number line? Not necessarily, no. I have to have 2. Why 2? Because it's in my problem. So 2 has to be on that number line somewhere. 0 doesn't have to be. What I'm doing is I'm basically taking a snippet of the big number line. I don't have to make it 0 through 100. I can do whatever I want. And so I need to make sure 2 is on there. So when I make mine, I like to make sure 2 is in the middle. Okay? Then after that, you need to keep going with your number line. Now some people say to me, well, how do I know which way to go? Make it like this number line up here. Make it so your greater numbers are this way and your smaller numbers are this way. So this would be 3, 4, 1, 0. You don't have to go more than 5 numbers. 4 is even fine. But you for sure have to have 3 numbers. You have to have the number in there, and you have to have at least 1 on the opposite side. Okay? Now Hannah says this is a confusing part. Okay? So what does this say? X is greater than 2. Okay, so if I want to put a number in for X, what can make that true? 4. Is 4 greater than 2? What else can make that true? 3. Is 3 greater than 2? Okay, anything that's higher than 2, but does it include 2? No, because what would this be if it included 2 or equal? So when I graph this needs to be an open dot, and my arrow needs to go this way. because that's telling me all the possibilities that x could be. It could be 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, all the way to bazillion, and that's my solution set. My solution set are all the possible answers that I have. So if it goes the other way, because x is less than 2. Yep. Okay, I need to address that part. So AB says, I like to think about it this way. The sign is points which way the arrow should go. So if you look at this, you see how that's pointing the same way as the arrow. There's only two ways that that can work. The first way is if the variable's first, because sometimes the variable won't be first. The second way is if your number line is properly made. If it would be the other way, and you'd say, well, I want to make it so my arrow, so my number line, it goes 2, 3, 4, 1, 0. Now, is that correct? No. So, if you want to go with that rule and say, okay, I want to make it so I know that this points the way my arrow should get, I have two things. The variable has to be first, and the number line has to be made right. If those two things aren't happening, then it will not work for you. Okay? So let's practice another one. So I have x is less than negative 6. X is less than negative 6. So before you get ahead of me, what number has to be on that number line? Negative 6, right? Put it in the middle. And if you don't know how your number line should go, look up there. Well, if it's 6, then it should be negative 7. Okay, so open dot or closed dot? Open dot. It's not including negative 6. And everybody gets it. If you read it and you say x is less than negative 6, what are some things x could be? Negative 7, negative 8, negative 9, negative 10. If you say negative 6 or under, that could honestly be either way. So make sure you think to yourself, okay, I know this could be it, this could be it, this could be it. That's the way it's got to go. Okay. Questions so far? Anybody have questions? What if I turn it the other way and I give you a graph and I say write the inequality for this? What are some things you need to look at before you write an inequality for this? Anybody know? Kaylee? Okay. Okay, so what number it's lined up, because I know that's got to be in my inequality. So what number has to be in there? Okay, and the other side, I would always do a x or whatever. So if you have things, okay, so now I have a closed dot. So that means it can be this or this, right? Okay. So then if it's going to 3 and 2, what is this? It's less than, right? Less than or, yep. Okay. So everybody know how to do that. So let me do another one. I want you to do it by yourself. Okay, so write that inequality. I don't even care what letter you use. Pick your own letter. If you want to use the beginning of your name, I don't care. X. It's kind of a general algebra letter. X and Y. Yeah. X and Y. It's fine. No, no. That would be a D. All right, so what do you know about it? What's got to be in there? Give me one thing. Negative 3, and the other side we'll use x. So, is it open or closed dot? So we know it's either got to be greater than or less than. And if it's x is negative 2, negative 1, what can x be? Greater than. Nice work. Nice job. Any questions on that? So you could go either way? Okay. Let's skip some more of these graphs. All right, so writing inequalities, here's your second part. Here's your second part. And this is where you need that chart with your keywords in it. I would have an example in my notebook if I were you. Just so I know what I'm getting myself into. Maybe she guessed. Maybe she has. I don't know. She knows. News travels fast. News travels fast. Okay. Okay, so there are. Let's start with this one. Everybody need a second yet? Or are you okay? There are at least 25 students in the auditorium. So, what number has to be in my inequality? Okay, 25. And my other side is always going to have a variable, so x. So, is at least on your chart. Okay. So at least, if you think about it, let's not even talk about the sign yet. If there's at least 25 students in the auditorium, are there 25 students? Are there 26? Are there 27? Okay. Oh, could be. There could be 30. There could be 90. There could be 472. I don't know. Okay. So what sign is going to go in here? Greater than or equal to, right? Is that in your chart for greater than or equal to? All right, there you go. That's all you need for that. So in my auditorium, I don't know how many there are, but I know there's at least 25. All right, so then we have no more than 150 people can occupy a room. If you ever go to a restaurant, if you see, like, when you come in, there's usually a sign that says capacity, like 150 or 75 or whatever. What's that? Okay, everybody should. I think they have to provide that. Yeah, buses do too. Capacity 75. Yeah, that's as many people as they can hold. They can hold 75, but no more. So, for this one, if I have no more than 150 people, 150 people has to be in my inequality, and I'm going to put a W this time. So if I look for this, no more than, can there be 150 people? But can there be 151? No. There's got to be less than that, right? So it should be less than or equal to? It's the same thing in a restaurant. Or in the bus, if they say capacity is 75, that means it can hold 75 people, and that is it. No. Babies? What do you mean? Yes, that would be a person. They're a person, right? They could be a person. They need to see. They need to see with the seatbelt. Okay, but a bus means like how many bottoms it can fit in their chairs. How many butts it can fit in their seats. Babies won't count, and you probably won't put a baby on a school bus anymore. Right? I'm not bringing my kid on a field trip. Not with you guys. Lydia. Babies don't usually count on the plane because you can hold them on there. Yeah, they don't want to take up a seat. So. All right, here's another one. You need to be over 18 years of age. Let's think about this one. You need to be over 18. So you can't be 18, you're right. So I have to be over 18. I can't be 18. I have to be 19. So this has to be greater than. Okay? So pay attention. Pay attention to your wording. Let's see. Last thing I need to do is I need to show you some things that they're going to show you in your homework today. Okay? Very simple. I'll show you an example. So what they're going to do is they're going to give you an inequality that looks like this. It's going to look like this. 2t plus 8 is greater than 7. Okay? There's your inequality, but it's going to tell you what t is. They're going to say t is negative 1. What they want you to do is they want you to put 1 in for t, negative 1 in for t, and they want you to solve it. So let's do that. So it would be 2 times negative 1 plus 8. So this would be 2 times negative 1 would be negative 2. Negative 2 plus 8, 6. So 6 greater than 7. Is this true or false? You'd write false. So they're gonna, that's your answer then. Your answer would be false. This is not true, right? So you would write false. They're just saying, they're just giving you a T. Okay, so let's do another one. So now you understand what's happening. Okay, so P minus 42 is less than or equal to negative 2, and P is 40. You can do that one in your head. Just wait. Just think about it. Don't shout it out. So if I put P in for 40, I get 40 minus 42, and what's that? Is negative 2 less than or equal to negative 2? It is true. Or equal to makes it true. The or equal to part makes it true. I don't know. Because I wanted you to see the solution set of what all the possibilities it can be, and if I have an equal sign, it's like an equation then. So inequalities can have many answers, while equations just have one. That's true. Yep. What's that? They wouldn't trick you. That's a good question. Somebody asked me, why aren't we using equal signs? And the reason why you're not using an equal sign is because that's what we did using equations. If I went back here and I solved, or I said, oh, W is equal to 18, what can W only be? What can W be here? 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. That's the difference between inequalities, is inequalities can have 1,000 answers, while equations only have one. Okay. Any questions on this today? None? Because we're going to use this for the next 2 days. So if you're not getting it now, it's going to be a struggle tomorrow and on Monday. Okay? Your homework is on the board. Your evens only. If you're going to talk the rest of the time, I'm going to give you the rest of them. And then some. Okay?